So if you're listening to this video, you've already listened to Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You've already listened to that. Now you're going to take your setting read-along. Setting talks about where and the time that it happened. So you're going to put the title, and I just put Goldilocks. And you can put and the Three Bears if you want to, but I just put Goldilocks. And there's really only one setting. A house in the woods. Okay? House in the woods. So you'll be finishing that. The next thing I want you to do, instead of putting a 2 to 3 sentence summary, I want you to write the title of your book, which is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to underline that title just to check in. The first and the last words are always capitalized in the title. And the, they're little words, you don't need to capitalize. But three is a bigger word, so you do need to capitalize it. So this week, each day as we read our fairy tale, I want you to write down 3 ways that this is a fairy tale. Okay? Let's talk about it, and then I'll show you my 3 ways that I wrote down. Yours can be different. So first of all, let's talk about the genre fairy tale. Is it a play? No. Nonfiction? Definitely not. Poetry? No. A folk tale? No. That's usually a story that's passed on that you can learn a lesson from. It's in the fiction realm. Invented stories with imaginary characters and events. That fits. Now, there's this category, realistic fiction. Somebody made up the story, but it really didn't happen. But all of it could happen. So that's realistic fiction. It's real. Historical fiction. They write about a time in history that really did happen, but not everything happened that way. Okay? Historical fiction. It tells a story. Maybe they made up a story about George Washington crossing the Potomac River. He really did that, but maybe they're saying what he said. Nobody knows that. So that would be fiction, historical fiction. Science fiction, where you make up space stories and things like that. Fantasy fairy tale is where we're going to go. And then mystery, writing a mystery story where it has to be solved. Fantasy fairy tale. All right, let's look at the elements of fairy tales. Now this is just some of them that I wrote down. Fairy tales get their name because sometimes there are fairies involved, not real creatures and characters. So they sometimes have magic. They often have animals that are their characters and the main characters. Their characters come in 3s, like our story today, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. On Friday, we read The 3 Little Pigs. Often they come in 3s. There's usually a good guy or girl, a good character, the hero, and there's usually a bad guy and girl. Somebody evil, like evil queens, things like that. A lot of times they will start with once upon a time, and they'll end with and they lived happily ever after. Now, not all fairy tales have everything that we're talking about, but this is just some of their elements. Also, there's often royalty, like princes and queens. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're evil. And usually good triumphs, good wins. I'm going to push that back so you can, oh, maybe push it up. No, it just still doesn't matter. Good triumphs, there it is. Usually good triumphs, good wins over evil, usually in fairy tales. Now, they're just some of those elements. I want to show you what I put for my 3 elements. I put number 1 for Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I know this is a fairy tale because the bears are talking. Definitely fiction. Number 2, the bears are wearing clothes. And number 3, they have 3 main characters. Because remember we talked about they come in 3s. So those were my 3. You can use them, or you can choose 3 others. Why you think this is fiction and a fairy tale. And also, there's an extra activity on today's schedule, and it's about Goldilocks, and there's a word I thought I better mention. It's called cheeky. And usually when someone's cheeky, they're a little bit cute, a little bit funny, but they're usually doing something they shouldn't, or saying something they shouldn't. It's kind of like, I don't know about that. Goldilocks is definitely cheeky. If you do that activity, choose that one. Okay, I will talk to you later. When you read your Razkir story, remember, Goldilocks is not who you think she or he is.